This sweater has been my husband's go-to sweater for quite a while now, but as you can see, the trim around the V-neck, sort of collar area, has started to come off. And in this video, I'm going to show you how easy it is to sew the collar back onto a sweater. So let's go. This is actually a very simple repair job, and all you need to fix it is some matching thread and a needle and some straight pins. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to pin the collar back onto the edge of the sweater. So you can see that there is a crease here in the collar, and I just want to bring the edge of the sweater right up to that crease. And then I am going to grab one of my straight pins and just pin it in place. Let me give you a slightly closer view. So here is the collar. I'm bringing the edge of the sweater right into that crease and then folding the collar back around and then just pinning it in place as best I can. Sometimes it takes a couple tries. So I'm just going to keep working my way around and pinning this collar to the sweater. I'll be right back. Now that it's pinned onto the sweater, I want to take a minute and just double check that the pinning looks good, and it does. So now we're going to sew it. I have already threaded my needle with a double strand of matching thread, and I tied a few little knots at the end of the thread. And I am going to be sewing this with a really simple back stitch, and I will show you how that's done. So I want to start my sewing on the inside of the collar. Let me get a little closer here. So I want my knot to be on the inside of the sweater. And I'm actually going to put it in between the layers here. So I am just putting my needle under the collar, and the knot is now in between those layers on the inside. So it's not going to be visible, and it won't be, you won't notice it when you wear the sweater either. So now I'm going to go from the inside of the sweater to the front side, and I want to be checking that I'm grabbing right at the edge of this collar trim, and then pull my thread all the way through. And then I'm going to go back, and I can decide how large I want my stitches to be. I'm going to make my stitches pretty small, smaller than 1/4 inch. And I'm going back from the outside to the inside again. And now I'm going to skip forward. It looks like I've got a little loop. There we go. Make sure your thread looks good. I'm going to actually skip forward 2 stitch lengths. And again, I'm going to go from the inside of the sweater to the outside. And I want to make sure that I'm catching the very edge of the collar trim. And so the needle has come out about 1 stitch length ahead or away from my very first stitch. I know that's kind of hard for you to see, but here's a stitch, and now I am making my next stitch the same length. And again, I'm going from the outside of the sweater to the inside, and I'm constantly looking back and forth to make sure that I am catching the edges of this collar trim on both sides. So again, I'm going to scooch my needle forward so that I am about a stitch length away from my last stitch. And if your thread matches really well, these stitches are going to be really difficult to see, which you're probably experiencing right now while you watch. It's quite hard to notice them. They just blend in, and they're small. And again, I'm going to go from the front to the inside. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I have my collar trim sewn back in place. And then I will show you how to finish. All right, I've made it all the way around the collar, and I'm realizing now that I kind of wish I had just used a single strand of thread. It's probably not super noticeable, but I feel like the stitches would have been even more invisible if I used a single strand of thread. Of course, with a double strand, it's going to be more durable. So there's a trade-off. But anyhow, I made it all the way around, and I just wanted to show you how to finish off the thread. And it's very simple. I am just going to find a nearby stitch right next to where my thread is coming out. I'm going to go under that nearby stitch with my needle to create a little simple loop there of thread. And then I'm going to go into the loop with the needle to make a knot and just pull that nice and tight. And I'm going to go ahead and do that one more time. Under a stitch, make a little loop, and make a knot. And my loop got a little twisted, so sometimes you just got to straighten things out, and then it is done. Eventually. Come on, there we go. Okay, took a little tugging there, and then I can just trim close to the knot, and the collar is finished. Wasn't that so fast? I really hope this video helps you get a sweater of yours or a loved one's back in use. And if you have more things around your home that need fixing, I am linking to a playlist of other repair tutorials right underneath this video.